live,
Well,
Oh, there you're live. We're live on Facebook. There we go.
exactly. So no, so with this fancy technology, we don't like so we are live. So this is very exciting now. Okay,
Live on CNN.
live on CNN. So my first ever time going Facebook live, and if I could do it with anyone, it would be with David Flynn of the Happy Pear. Dave, thank you so. It's the truth, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. Uh, like
I'm delighted.
like this is, I guess, just look before. Okay, the context why we're here, right? This is called it's called Inspo Road to New Normal, and it's about having conversations just to get people's experience of what the lockdown was like, what the hopes for the new normal that we have is, and like any apprehensions, basically, because I just think it's good to have a chat about it. It happened. It was a thing none of us have ever experienced before in our lives. So it's good to have a chat about it. So that's really why we're here today.
Love it.
Yeah. So look, Inspo, tiny bit of Inspo, designed to motivate and inspire the human spirit. I have been inspired along the way by a number of different people. One of those people is none other than David Flynn. So I guess context, we know each other first from the West Cork, the halcyon days of West Cork.
Yes, yeah.
The glory days. You'd come down, and I just remember a couple of things. You used to dive in off the pier when I couldn't even swim, so I was like these guys are cool. And you had you had that forehand, that tennis forehand, man, and it was just like, oh my god, you just like, it looked like you were almost fracturing your wrist. It was unbelievable.
That's funny. You remember those things? That's gas.
Do you still play? Do you playing any with the tennis?
No, I haven't played in years now, really. So
Okay.
I get the kids back. The kids play sometimes in summer. They'll do tennis camps or something. But no, I haven't played in years now, really.
Okay, man. Well, the kids will follow. The kids will follow in good footsteps. So, the other memory though. This is the big one though. Like, so every now and again, like for people, like, so I spent 12 years in kind of corporate life, and every now and again I drop into the Happy Pear. So the family home is in Wicklow Town. We'd pop up, and I just go there for like one, food, and two, just a bit of a shot of inspiration from the lads. And you would always say, in fairness, you'd always say, come here, John. And particularly if it was a weekday, you're still in the suit, John, with a total look of disappointment, because I would have shared maybe ambitions of doing something myself. And, I remember one morning calling up to the shop, and it was before you'd opened. In fairness, you just took time to chat with me. And I remember like me giving this kind of like big existential talk about shit, like I want to leave the corporate world, but I just don't know what. And you were just kind of sitting away and then just listening. And then eventually I'd stopped my big rant, and you had said, come here, you just taste this for me. And you were mixing some sort of a chia pudding or something that you were going, I don't know if it's going to work. Like, and I was just like, man, I've just given you everything there. And then eventually you were like, look, John, just go for it. Just go for it. And I was like, okay, it's pretty simple, but finally I got there. Okay, I'm going to pause now, right? Because the reason for this, Dave, is I just want to get your sense, man, of how you felt. Like, you're the most unbelievably positive person, right? So I'd be very curious to know how you found lockdown. Like 27th of March, when Leo tells us we're going from like where we were to 2K to limited, like, I was in Dublin, just for clarity, like just context. I was in Dublin. I was on the phone to Johnny, and my housemate had gone. This was like in the gaff on me Todd for 2 weeks. He'd gone home to Kildare, and this Leo comes on. I'm going, geez, like, can I really do this on my Todd for like weeks or whatever? And like Johnny's on the phone going, like, what you want to do? Like, and then I'm also thinking, Dave, like, I'm 38. Am I really going to go back home? Like, is this happening?
Yeah, exactly.
On a serious note, though, the other thing then for me was like once this happened, my big concern wasn't getting the coronavirus; it was giving the coronavirus to someone else. Like, and the last people in the world that I would like to give it to would be mom and dad. Like, and yet there I was. Like, I obviously couldn't have no guarantee that I was going down without the coronavirus, because the fact you can be asymptomatic. So that was going on with me, March 27th. Dave, what was going through your head, both personally from the Happy Pear perspective, when you heard that?
I can't really remember March 27th. I remember thinking that, this thing's going to happen, and then it kind of happened. and you kind of felt like, oh, cool, we're in an American blockbuster, woohoo! You know, that was like, it felt like, geez, this is cool. I never, ever, ever watched the news, and here I am watching the news to see what exciting thing is going to be told. And it definitely felt like being in a Marvel movie or something. So that was initial kind of like, geez, this is really interesting. I wonder what's going to happen. And then obviously we had closed our cafes. I think the week or two before that, we'd closed all our cafes. So there was a lot of kind of dealing with all that and temporarily laying people off and all that kind of business, just the adapting to how the world was changing and changing the business. So there was a huge amount of reshuffling the order of how we did business, and then on a daily basis, you know, what's going to happen, because we've had a cafe, you know, we've had cafes for 15 years, and our main one, you know, that's been part of my life. That's always been part of my life. And here it was closed for the first time in 15 years. So that was kind of new. But in a sense, it was like retrospectively, like in it was fun, because I'd still go up to the shop every day, even though it was closed, and I'd work from there, and we had a space that we could tinker around in and do stuff.
Yeah.
And it felt like I was leaving the house, because our house is quite small, and I've never spent a full day in the house ever, I think, unless I was completely, I can't even remember the last time I did it. So fortunately my 2K, I've got the sea right beside me. I can go for walks, and within the 2K is still a walk up to the Happy Pear. So like our main cafe, and also because we're in food production, we could go up to, like, our pesto's being made, our hummus is being made. So for work wise, we had to, you know, as essential workers, you can still go up, you have to go up and check on lines and meetings and things like that couldn't be done on Zoom or whatnot. So mine was pretty different to most people's experience of being locked completely in a house. That there was loads of bad stuff, but there was lots of silver linings as well, you know.
Gotcha, man. The silver linings, what if you were to just call them out, like, what would you say they'd be?
Well, number one, it sure was the most incredible time ever to reflect and take stock of how you've been living your life and how we've been running our business and what's important and what's not important. So that was the fundamental thing which came out of it, which I'm sure I'm not alone with that opportunity.
Yeah.
And I guess it gave us the opportunity with our business, almost like kind of going, wow, okay, here we are. What do we want to focus on? What do we not want to focus on? And then as an individual, my relationship to how I work and what I want to focus on more, because like, I guess I'm so linked to the business, and me and Stephen both are, because we're the kind of face of the business. So how do we want to do this? How do we interact with it? So how we want to work directly impacts the business decisions and business strategy as well, you know. So yeah. So there's been incredible conversations and discussions, and you know, we've had to close one of our cafes in Clondalk and close it completely. We've had to lay off people there. We've had an internal kind of reorganization, which was awful, same as Clondalk, and they're both awful things to go through. But you're kind of realizing that, you know, the business probably we'd way too many irons in the fire. So once you kind of cut them back, you realize that there's a few core things that you want to do that give us more meaning and more purpose. Like, yeah, so that's been a huge one. And the other big one is that we really focused on our online courses, which was a huge one. So we kind of moved away from bricks and focused on clicks. And that's been great fun. Like, it's like back playing a computer game, like selling stuff online. It's like there's so much data and so much decisions that I feel like I'm back playing Zelda or something like that, because you're making decisions based on information and this, and you're pivoting and adapting. And it's really, really fun, you know.
I imagine, and I saw the Happy Gut course is one that I think I saw like online, let's say, but like one of the coolest things that we enjoy about the Happy Pear is like the energy, like the physical energy that you just experience when you go like into Greystones. Like, and again, we'll come back to lockdown and say, well, how do you replicate that? How do you replicate the uniqueness of the energy that you have and bring that to the clicks world?
Well, I guess we're figuring it out. It's only been 3 months that we've really focused on it, and it's been so much fun. It's like learning a new language or something. We're learning, and because we didn't have any other cafes, we didn't have anything to the amount of noise. I think everyone's level for noise, it was reduced dramatically. Certainly in our world, it was like the external inputs, like emails and phones and all this type of stuff. And there was a lot more quiet and space to focus and actually just do one thing and really learn something and develop it. So we really focused on, I guess, the online ecosystem of, we have all these courses, we've had them for years, and how can we get more people through them, and help change more people's lives, and how can we focus on those type of things. So that's been really rewarding. We've had people in 110 countries through them in the last few months, and yeah, been really, really rewarding and really enjoyable in every sense. And how to get the energy in it, I don't know. We're doing our best. Like, it's all videos, like it's all kind of videos, and you're supporting people in those communities and all this type of thing. Obviously it can always be done better, but we're doing our best, always,
Absolutely, man. There's definitely a tutorial that you need to give me on that front there at a later date. Come here, what about you as an individual, Dave? Because ultimately, like, I guess, the purpose of these conversations, like, is just hearing other people's perspectives in the public domain about how they as an individual got on, just minding the fact that, like, like, as you say, like, I don't know, you strike me as someone who just feeds off energy. Like, you're such full of energy, and the energy that you seem to get from interacting with people in the cafe or where, like, how did you get on just having to deal with the confines? As you said, you'd never been in the house, like, for the
full day.
Yeah. How did you personally find that? Like,
I guess, like, I certainly, like, I still didn't spend a full day in the house because I just couldn't. And like, the sea is literally 100 meters from the house, so I was in the sea quite a bit. I was climbing on the rocks quite a bit. I was going for, like, there was, I think it was very, at the start, it was very controlled and very confined, and then it opened up. And, I think at the start I didn't see Stephen for a few weeks, and then it opened up and you could talk to people and see people from a distance. And, and then it became very much more, there was ways to manage your way around it and make the best of it and interact with humans and all that type of thing. So, and because, like, I'm separated, so there's myself and Sab. I've got my kids kind of 3 days a week, and John has them for 3 or 4 days a week. So we were like a pod, that we were kind of 2 houses but one family, if you know what I mean. So we ended up spending a lot of time together, myself and Sab, my partner, and then Jan and the kids, because the kids are going between 2 houses, that we ended up having lots of dinners collectively and doing things collectively and cycles together and also things. That was really nice, that it made us all come together more than during normal busy life, because there was no one else you could really interact with.
And what does it do you think, that time? I spent 3 months at home with mum and dad, and honest to God, like, I don't know, like, when you first go down, normally the amount of time that we'd spend together would be like 3-4 days a week, and that was like 12 weeks, and by the end of it we became like housemates. Which is a credit to them, like, that they didn't want to kick me out after a few weeks. Like, just I guess, what does it do for relationships, just to kind of, from your perspective at least, man? How did that time?
I guess it just gave, like, certainly, like, Sab's usually very busy. She works in Google and she's in there all the time, so we got to spend a lot more time. Like, we have breakfast together, we have lunch together, we have dinner together. The kids are there. We'd go up to Jan, we'd go for cycles, we'd do things together. So it gave a lot more time and it forced us all to spend more time, and forced to have those more routine, like, it felt like going back in time, like, where I felt like a farmer, that I was going home for breakfast, lunch and dinner. How's your day? And the meals, the lunch and the dinner was the big part of the day. And there wasn't a lot of what's going on. What did you do today? Because you just sat and you had one meeting after another, on a laptop or a phone or something, and you went for a walk and a few different things. But I guess it was more about appreciating the little things and the moments, and going for walks and going for cycles and having chats and discussions. And it really slowed things down to be more mindful and take stock of, like, I think everyone was in that kind of, that there was an element of fear, like there was a bit of a huge amount of uncertainty. So most people, in a sense, were more aware and more present than they typically normally were. And I found it incredibly wonderful in the sense that anytime you went for a walk, people would typically be too busy to say hello or stop and chat. They all said hello. They all stopped and chatted. Neighbors that you hadn't seen in years. They're out, they're smiling, they're out with their dog, they're walking, they have all the time in the world and ever in a time. So I think the power of community emerged dramatically in terms of people got to know their neighbors, and the real things became very local. And I can only imagine that it was something like, which might have been in the 1950s or 60s, or when there was strong local communities where people really cared about one another,
Yeah. Which was class. And I remember on my bike in Wicklow Town, just doing my daily cycle, and it is that case of, like, every wave and every hello was just like, oh, gold. Like, it was.
Yeah.
What would you hope that, like, what do you hope to hold on to as we start to this slow transition back into whatever we call normal? What are you hoping to take with you from this experience?
Sheesh. Like, you know, I would love to naively kind of go, oh, I'd love that slow pace and walking up the middle of the road and cycling up the middle of the road with my kids. And, you know, like you'd love to be able to pull that out every now and again and go, oh, great. Because now there's so many cars on the road and there's so much more people around and life is busier and the phone is ringing more and there's emails and there's WhatsApps and there's texts and there's a lot more inputs than there was during that period. So I think it's probably, and life now for me has been busier than ever now because we're opening the cafes and we're opening the bakery and the business is changing. We have a book out and it's back on at 120%. So I guess the bit which I would love to be able to apply more is just that sense of space and that sense of, you know, taking stock and wondering why are we doing it all for? What's the ultimate? You know, there's so much inertia in modern life that we all seem to think we need to be very busy to make money, to buy a house, to buy this, to buy that, and then ultimately so that you can have time and take it easy and be calm and you read a book, you know, and that's making it. Well, why don't you just read the book and take the time and try to proactively do that in every day where you make time to do your yoga or do whatever you like to do, have a cup of tea with your partner and go for a walk and pet the dog and have a chat with some, you know, like it's making time for the simple things because it's so easy to externalize things and think that life is about becoming a big deal and buying your fancy house and having your holiday here, there and the other. Whereas I think the whole experience made certainly me personally more aware of it's the day-to-day, the simple, small little interactions of having a laugh with a few people and, you know, always about the people and typically about the time and the ease and the pace rather than what you're doing, you know?
Yeah. And to try and keep, like, it's a lovely perspective to take with, and you've got a lovely perspective on both the good and the challenging. And clearly there's been both from what you've described there, man. Like, what grounds you day to day? Like, number one, I know yoga and I know swimming has always been a central part. Like you'd be proud of me, right? This is like, obviously when I moved to Wicklow town, like, and I couldn't swim and I swear to God, I think my buddies were born in the water. So that's not helpful when you're the fella who's always standing on the pier, as I was for around 10 years. But I actually, would you believe, yesterday had swim number 82 for 2020. Like, so again, you've had a very big influence on me, man. So could I just, for those people, like, what does yoga and meditation, well, meditation as well, but particularly yoga and swimming, what do they do for you in terms of mental?
I'd say they're such like, and a friend started, Luke started working with us there about 3 months ago. And he said, oh, well, should I follow you on social media? And I've always had an idea of what you wear. But it wasn't until I worked with you and I'm around you and I'm hanging out with you and chatting with you and we're doing all the stuff that I realized you're just lads with really busy lives, really busy, stressful lives with very good stress management techniques, such as yoga, swimming in the sea, taking time for yourself and having a laugh. And I guess they serve as incredible tools that when you feel like crap, you feel like life is beating you up and you feel a sense of poor me, go do yoga for half an hour. I'll forget everything. Like my whole body physiology will change. My shoulders won't be curved. My back won't be tense. I'll be tall. I'll be breathing properly. I'll probably hear the birds better. I'll probably breathe better. I'll probably feel like water after it. I'll probably make better food decisions and my whole mind is kind of rewired. So I find like yoga, similar with meditation, it probably resets your nervous system that you can feel tense and wound up. Same way a nap might do in the afternoon. I know during Corona, I got in the habit of having a nap in the afternoon, which was lovely. A little 5-10 minute little nap, just curl up in the corner and have a nap. And I guess meditation serves the exact same tool for me, that it just, during the day, you pick up tensions which you aren't necessarily aware of. And whether it's a nap or whether it's meditation or mindfulness or breath work or whatever you might be doing, it tends to reset your nervous system where you're probably a bit more present and a bit more at ease, as opposed to living in the future or living with, you know, noise about the past going on in your head.
Yeah. How then do you keep discipline with it, man? Because, like, you know, are you in the water every day?
Yeah. Every day.
Are you on the mat every day?
I think the thing is to not, like, in my own life, I don't beat myself up about any, but like
Okay.
The swim happens every day because it's the first thing I do. I get up and I walk out of the house and I go for a swim. So that's really easy. Except it has been like 4:57 and it's up to 5:07 now. So it is very early. So that happens automatically. And yoga, some weeks it'll happen every day, and other weeks it might happen once a week, and other weeks it mightn't happen at all. So it depends on, like, there'll always be some form of movement, because me and Steve will go hang out of a bar, we'll do handstands, or someone will say, let's do some press ups or something. So there's usually enough humans around me that we'll end up doing something, whether going for a run or doing what. There's enough physical activity in my life where it naturally happens. But it's only through years of discipline that my life has reached that level. But I find if I'm too disciplined, too black and white, it loses its fun, it becomes something to beat yourself up about with,
Okay. How important?
So it's a bit like jazz. You've got rules and structures, but you can adapt and pivot and make it work for you rather than use it as a tool to beat yourself up.
I love it, man. That's a great metaphor. I love it. And jazz can be it's a bit like organized chaos at times. It can look like, oh gosh, but yet there's some level of methods to the madness. Like
a bit like nature. You look at nature and you think, oh my God, it's complete chaos. But once you get into the surface, you realize that there's so much symbiosis and so much harmony, that X is having effect on Y, and the birds and the bees and the flowers and the hawks are eating the worms, and all these various different things. And you see that there's so many symptoms that are just, there's so many systems that are just interplaying with one another in a beautiful, beautiful harmony and cacophony of events.
Savage. Headstands in yoga. How much fear did you have before you actually got to do one?
To do handstands? We've been doing it for years, so I can't even think back to when I had fear in them,
So this is the piece then, right? Like, okay, and it's related to lockdown, it's related to moving on to new normal. Fear. Like,
yeah.
How you've always struck me as to being fairly fearless, like, and then talking to a fella then, like, whose apprehensions have gotten way more than they should at times. Like, so how have you managed, if I'm right to say that you've got a good handle on fear? I'm not going to want to, yeah, it feels like you have a good handle on fear. Is it true? And if so, how have you managed that to be the case?
I think everything is relative. Like, when sometimes I've been asked that question, what advice would you give your younger self? And I'd always say, be less fearless, like be reckless, like stop, don't even consider, like just follow your own gut in so many different things. So I think fear has definitely had an impact on my life, as it has in everyone's life, because we are one individual part of a greater system. So I think unless someone has they're just wired differently, I think everyone has elements of fear, and it's just part of the human nature, it's hardwired into us. So I think compared to the average person, I think I'm less susceptible to fear. And I think part of that is probably being an identical twin. I have someone that's just going to support me blindly and kind of go, yeah, great idea, Dave. Great idea. Let's throw ourselves off this ditch. That's a brilliant idea. So you go, oh, that is a great idea. Yeah. So I've always had someone telling me, reinforcing all the incredible ideas and all the absolutely moronic ones. So fear has always been, I always know that I've got someone there that'll go, sure, doesn't matter, Dave. Shall we get on and we try another game, So I've been very fortunate that as an identical twin, I've got a partner in crime that is always going to, be there to pick me up if I fall over, or to pat me on the back and go, geez, that's a great idea. So I probably, fear is absolutely an impact in my life, but maybe
less so.
Yeah, but I definitely do as I get older. Like, we're 40 now. I definitely realize that I can sometimes see it myself, that element of becoming a grown-up where you're going, no, I won't. I'll just stand here and watch, instead of jumping into the arena and kind of going, well, I think it's really important to learn new skills all the time and consistently do things. Like, I see Steve is very good at, he'll jump in and he doesn't mind being really bad at things for a while. Whereas I might sit there and go, no, I'm grand, I'm good at enough things, I'll just be a grown-up. And I see that in him, and I kind of go, okay, great, I want to proactively cultivate and learn to edit videos and learn Photoshop and learn to speak Dutch, or learn to whatever, learn these other things, like, because I think it's that constant curiosity of learning different things, as opposed to, as we get older, we become a bit more stuck in our ways and go, no, I just do this and I'm scared, sure, I might break a hip, or I might something other. And maybe it's not physically, but it's more that attitude of that childlike nature of being open to new experiences all the time and expanding our own creativity, because it can get dulled and we can become you know, a bit more two-dimensional.
Mm. And as you move forward into like whatever the world has to offer us, like what are the opportunities that you're excited about?
Everything. I think there's so much, the ground is shaking and moving with beneath us all. But I think there is so much to be afraid of, but at the same time, there's so much opportunity because things are being rumbled up and down. There's so much opportunity to reinvent yourself in ways that you never quite imagined, or to, like, as lots of people are changing careers, they're changing relationships, they're changing where they live. There's incredible opportunities to be honest with yourself and kind of go, right, I've been living a lie for a good few years. I want to actually do what I should have done along. So it's almost like fast tracking decision making. So in myself, I think I find we're opening a bakery on Friday. I'm really excited about that. We launch a new book tomorrow, which I'm really excited about that. The whole digital space, I'm more lit up about that than I've ever been. That's like such a fun project to learn all that. Editing videos. My daughter's learning French. I'm really enjoying doing French with her every day, and we're both learning French. She's 9, and that's good crack. Well, I speak French, but doing it with her and sharing that, I think that's really fun. There's so much stuff that I think is, you know, to be excited about.
Savage. Do you know what I forgot in terms of technology? I was supposed to put us in gallery view like that.
Sure. Listen, John. Sure, no bother.
For the last two couple of minutes there, at least, you know, look, if you can't learn in the moment, when can you learn?
Exactly.
So come here to me. The piece I wanted to ask you there about is, I love this idea of, you know, you're talking about people changing, right? So maybe the last little theme to get your views on is, because, you know, you were the one who simplified it down so beautifully to me when I was like in that existential kind of dilemma, which is like, man, just go do it. Like, if you want to do it, go do it. I get the feeling that people having the time to reflect during lockdown has kind of made them kind of just think and step back and go, well, come here, what is what I'm doing, and how much does it feel like it's the right answer? Like, two questions. No, what would you do in that scenario if you're sitting with that question? I guess
my nature is always, and everyone makes decisions differently. Like, I'll go talk to lots of people, and through the process of having those conversations around people who I value their opinion, I'll get their input. But more than likely, through having those conversations, it'll become true to me in the language that I use, and other people hear it too, of what I actually want to do. And it's just being ballsy enough to actually do it then. Whereas I look at Sab, my partner Sabrina, she'll less talk to the people. She'll sit and mull it over and make the decision in her own head beforehand. Whereas I'm more an external type of person, where I'll talk with lots of people, and through that process, I'll become aware of what I actually want, you know, and then it's just a matter of actually going doing it, you know.
Class. So, okay. Who's the person you go to most talking wise? Is it Stephen? Like, the obvious answer would be Stephen.
Depending on what it was, like, you know, because I spend so much time with him, I probably don't even have to talk with him about it, that I know what he's probably going to say. So I'll probably go to someone else because I'll probably get a different perspective. You know, it's a bit like if we all live in an echo chamber, we're all just going to get told what we expect to be told. Whereas I'll probably go to someone, I might go to different people depending on what the context is, with different opinions, and very often it'll be people that are older than me or younger than me, people with just a very different perspective, and that might help influence my decision making, as opposed to if I just talk with Stephen, I know exactly what he's going to say. It's just going to be what I would inherently think myself. But if I go to other different people, whether my parents or whether to other friends that are older or younger or the same peer group, you know, like the people who we swim with is an incredible. There's people between 70 and 20, you know, and there's all the people everywhere in between, and even talking to them, you get a great variety of opinions or perspective on things, you know. And I find the same with my friends have become more diverse in ages than they would have been in the past, you know.
It sounds like you're just really opening up to the world a little bit, like, and just letting it,
just waking up.
Happy days, man. I don't know what to say, really. Like, I could talk to you for ages. However, I'm conscious of time. Like, you've been an unbelievable inspiration to me, Dave Flynn. And to hear
cheers, John.
The book coming out tomorrow, the bakery opening on Friday, online, going from strength to strength. Does the world feel like it's your oyster?
some days, and then other days it's on your back and it's up, it's beating you up. So it depends on the perspective. Like you've got to, and I think the moment you think you've got it sussed, you've got to question, are you being too comfortable? Are you being too easy? Because so much of life, there's the external and then there's the internal journey of what's going on a daily basis. So I think, yeah, definitely externally you can look at it and go, yeah, there's X, Y, Z of what people say in society you should have. But then there's the internal one where I've become more focused on the ease and the calm and the day-to-day enjoyment. And I think that's ultimately, no matter what you have externally, those things are the real wealth. And it's so difficult to remember that because we've been conditioned, or I've been conditioned anyway, over my whole life. It's been externalized, and it's been the American dream, and it's been all these various things, that materials and money and fame and all those type of things that we've all been chasing those things as ideals for so long. And it's to constantly remind myself that, hey, it's in the day-to-day, it's in this little walk now, it's in these birds now, it's in this glass of water, it's in this conversation, it's in all these various little things, and the external effect of them is less important.
Yeah. This is genuinely the last question. The day cool. You're like, you just had the cheeky, he said that around 5 minutes ago.
Sure, whatever.
Come here to me. The day that the day kind of feels like it's on your back. Yeah. Which, and again, man, this is just perception, right? That sometimes you'd almost feel that doesn't happen to Dave and Steve Flynn, like,
No, of course
just because, yeah. So how do you find a relationship with the day that the day is on your back to make that day feel as...
So it depends on the day or the time of the day or the context. If I've got time to go jump in the sea, I'll go jump in the sea, because that's the ultimate way of having a fresh start of the day. It cleans your head immediately. It flushes out any sense of poor me. So I think the sea will probably be one of them. Number two, if I feel like I'm tired and I've got that noise in my head going, oh, geez, I'm just too tired. Well, then I'll just literally lie on the ground beside me and have a little nap. And those naps might be 5 or 10 minutes. I might go for a run and go, hey, Steve, I feel like crap. Come on, let's go for a run. I need to move. There's, I feel a stale energy. I mean, he'll go, yeah, cool, great. And we'll go for a 20-minute run or a 10-minute run or something. So it's usually some kind of physical thing that will change my mental health. It won't be sitting there torturing myself. As a physical creature, usually movement is the biggest way for me to change my emotional state. If I feel like I'm torturing myself, what's going on, or if the day is up on my back and I feel there's so many people want things that I just had enough. I just want to, So I think it's having your artillery of tools that you do when the day, because life is overwhelming for many people very often. So it's having your tools of turning off your phone and going for your run, or having your coffee, or reading your book, or having your bath, or whatever your tools are, but your things that make you remind yourself that you are the most important thing, and your relationship with yourself is the most important thing, and not this email or this text or these type of things,
It sounds like your compassion, man, is something that's present in you, whether it's nature or nurture.
Yeah, certainly trying to, I don't know, maybe it's compassion to oneself and to myself, and that to constantly, work on that, so.
Okay, man, listen, I got to leave you go, because you're like, come on. You're a legend, Dave.
Cheers, John. We can do it again whenever.
Exactly. To everyone who joined us, thank you so much. This was just one conversation talking about lockdown, talking about new normal, the experience. Perhaps there might be one conversation that you could have with someone else that could help you, that could help that person. Please go do it, because it's good to have a chat about it. And hopefully you can join me next Wednesday. Do you ever hear the band La Boom, Dave?
No.
I have to send you it on, man. So it's a 2-piece band, and Amy Mallon, one of the two, is joining me. She's unbelievable on the drums. If anyone wants to have seen her, check out the song What We Do live. It's absolutely phenomenal. And to everyone, thank you so much, and hopefully catch you next week. Dave Flynn, you are a legend. Thank you, man.
John Slats, mind yourself. Thanks, man.